Today we're going to be getting into chapter 2 of PSYCHROS. In the last video we got through chapter 1. It was a little confusing, but if you remember, it was kind of like a therapy appointment of some sort, or I guess it was like a social worker appointment. So remember, before I start, this book is a little dark. It is for spooky season. So if you feel like, you're not in the mood for kind of like very dark stuff, I recommend you skip this video. Take care of yourself, and I love you so much. And let's get started. PSYCHROS, chapter 2. Chapter 2. I ran into Jeff at the memorial, and by ran into, I mean that I invited him and then felt obligated to entertain him. But I was terrible at these things. I don't know what people say to one another, I often thought to myself, although I knew that in fact I did know. I just couldn't be bothered to repeat it. I'm gonna, before I start, grab this so that I can not lose my spot. So sorry. I just couldn't be bothered to replicate it. Be inoffensive, be boring, be nice at least. I could smile more and that would get me by. But it's so hard to remember when it's go time. I ran into Jeff at the memorial, by which I meant the bar. He wouldn't have approved, perhaps. He wasn't much of a drinker and looked at me and side-eyed if I tried to indulge. Then he would start a fight as if it had nothing to do with the drinking and everything to do with, I don't know, whatever he could find at the time to be angry about. I asked him to please notice the consistency between when he started fights, when he thought I was drinking too much, and just admit what the fights were really about. But he refused. He thought his thoughts were private, that I couldn't prove my theory without his consent. But I knew better. The benefit of having dead loved ones is that you can almost have your thoughts to yourself. I could say that he said this, did that, loved this, hated that, and no one would know otherwise, since he wasn't there to confirm or deny anything at all anymore. Everyone was working on memory alone at this point, and memory is fallible. There were a lot of things that everyone didn't know about him. I told story after story, threatening each one of them to try to contradict me. But my knowledge of him was privileged, and they knew it still. I could see it in their faces that they doubted my privileged knowledge, and that only goaded me on to say more and more about him, as if adding more detail would make it more convincing. The thing is, though, it would. Even I started to wonder when he would have had time to think all of these thoughts, given the current rate of change of people's minds and the reporting lag between thinking the thoughts and expelling them at others. I ran into Jeff at the bar, by which I mean the one at the memorial, and there he was, Jeff. He had told me once, one of those times when we had broken up for a while, that I would like Jeff. I didn't know whether he was trying to make me feel better about the separation or whether he was trying to make himself feel better for fucking my friends. But he told me that I would like Jeff. Jeff was tall, he said. Therefore, I would like Jeff. It was all as simple as that. If you asked him, I would like Jeff. Jeff was my type. My type was tall. Oh, if it were only that simple. I think I had told him once that I liked tall men, but that's just a way of talking to people, isn't it? You list the things you like. Unpleasant people list the things they don't like. I don't know if I was trying to make myself feel more... I lost where I was. Unpleasant people list the things they don't like. I don't know if I was trying to make myself feel better by inference. He wasn't tall. I like tall men. Coupled with the obvious fact that he was not tall, if implied at least that I could have preferred someone else, or at most that I didn't like him. Of course, the latter would have made for a bad inference, because I like tall men does not all convert to I do not like men who are not tall. In fact, it's possible to like all sorts of men, and just to specify one over any other at any point in time should not imply any sort of double negative at all. But still, that's how people would take it. The fact that I like tall men, but that I didn't like him according to the human reason of interpersonal relations, but not according to logic. People are like that. They hate themselves, and they would hate themselves, especially if I convinced them that they deserved it, using conversational implicature contrary to second logic. If he were a better logician, he would have felt better about himself. Jeff was tall, but thin. You could run into him and just keep going. I thought, like, this physical form would just collapse around yours and bend around your body like a ribbon at the end of a very long race. I'd met him a couple of times, sure, but Jeff always seemed just an extension of him. Jeff was awesome to do things with. Jeff was someone with whom he had things in common. All I knew of Jeff were the commonalities. The rest of Jeff was blank. He was basically a thinned out version of him, with probably 2 interests and nothing to say. I imagined the next thing out of his mouth would be, "Hi, I'm Jeff, and I'm tall." That's all that there was to say about him. Of course, if we're all being honest with ourselves, the only people who have types are people who don't care about other people at all. You can't just decide in advance what people are going to be for you. It's not fair to them. Whatever they're going to be already is what they are in advance, which isn't how people or the universe works. So you might as well just not have a type and go kill yourself, is what I was thinking about all of these types in the room just now. You might as well go blank yourself. For all I give a fuck, except for Jeff. He's tall. His life is worth living. You'd like him. You can look at how tall he is for hours. You can build a life around how tall Jeff is. Just look at Jeff go. It's all infinity of fun times. That height of Jeff, at least 2 inches taller than the average person, I'd say, if not 4. Holy fuck, I thought. Just look at him go. He's a fucking magnificent. Just check out the sheer inches on him. He's slightly taller than some other folks. He is. Holy fucking Christ. Was Jeff my type? But we shouldn't be so cynical. Jeff was very likely just fine. There's just no such thing as a type, and to make someone into a type is to deny them of the capacity to change, to stunt the growth of actual human being with whom you apparently want to spend a lot of time with. It's making your time conditional on their not changing what type they're going to be, or worse, living up to the preconception you just imposed upon them. What are you going to do with all that time? It sure didn't speak well of humanity. That time couldn't be conceived of as reduced to the instantaneous perception of a singular quality, which was one arbitrarily chosen, given that there is no objective value to the arbitrarily chosen quality. And so to choose it indicates a lack of insight on the part of the chooser. This book is a little confusing because it's kind of talking to themselves. What I mean is when you're reading it, it's like they're talking to themselves and you, and like there's a lot of sarcasm and stuff. So I hope you're keeping up, okay? Okay. And I know I'm not the best reader. I will get better with time. Just reading out loud is a lot more difficult than reading in my head, so just be patient. Just be patient. There's no reason to how it happened either. There was that one time I opened his laptop and saw the search for brunettes in his history. That's why I told him I liked tall men, because I wasn't brunette and because he wasn't tall. As a blonde, I of course assumed that he was dating contrary to his type and was therefore in a constant state of unhappiness, and that it was all my fault. When I came to, I decided that the lapse in judgment was in fact his fault, and that's when I informed him that he wasn't in fact tall, though I suppose he should have known, but I wanted him to feel it. "Hi, Jeff," I said. "Hi," he said. I suppose Jeff didn't have to be an artful conversationalist. People would just insert as much meaning as they want into that "hi," based only on the fact that he was tall. You could fit a lot of meaning into that tall of a person. How are things? How are things? It was an absurd question given the context. Besides, dead. I added quickly. That wasn't right either. He wasn't a thing, but when you ask people how are things, that could imply you meant people as well. The people in their life and they cared about. The people whose existence were relevant to one's own existence. So that was fine. It was fine. It was a fine thing to say after all. I was covered. "Oh, he said, I really didn't, but..." Wasn't what he meant, so I wasn't going to press him on it. That's when I decided to fuck him. Oh my gosh, guys. He couldn't know though. It was important that he didn't know. I must deceive him though, a series of manipulations until he's in a situation where the conclusion seems inevitable, and then I'll fuck him, I decided. "I do know," I said, establishing a false sense of intimacy by implying that I knew more than I did, that we shared a common understanding, perhaps even a common bond. How can people believe that the primary purpose of language is to convey information when all we do is communicate through emphases on two-letter words that could mean anything? "I do." "I suppose you do," said Jeff. We stood there for a moment, in a moment of understanding, as far as he could tell, of solemn respect, of the weightiness of our natural moment of understanding. I waited until too long had gone by for anyone to feel comfortable. "I've set some things aside he'd want you to have," I told Jeff. I hadn't. "What kind of things?" items mostly. I jested. Of course, he loved items, said Jeff. Good spike of the volley, Jeff was well done. I didn't know Jeff was clever. Jeff was clever, but that didn't mean that he wasn't obviously to my intentions. He was clever and oblivious. Perhaps that was my type. My type is clever and oblivious. If only he were alive, so I could tell him how clever and oblivious he wasn't. It was all starting to make sense. Cheers, said Jeff. When our drinks arrived, I watched the glasses empty over a substantial amount of time. I drank mine in measured volumes, not too much at once. I wanted to drink a little more than Jeff as an encouragement for him to keep going, but not too much that I would lag so far behind that I would be sitting there waiting empty glass for Jeff to finish his beer as well, just waiting with nothing to do with my hands but wave an empty glass around as if I'd drunk it too fast, which was unladylike. No one wants to sad fuck someone who's unladylike. I could make another height joke at his expense, this one relating his alcohol tolerance to his height, had I not already sickened myself of them. Again, I lied as if I weren't already a done deal. Again, I made a game of pointing around the room and asking Jeff who all these people were. He hadn't let me in on it. A lot of things, it turned out. I couldn't let that on though. So every time Jeff explained someone I didn't know, I'd look knowingly as if to imply that he had in fact told me about them at some point during our shared history. Or perhaps I'd met them, but they'd changed face since then. You know how people degrade over time? Their faces start to fall off the bones, but the whole skin of them is pinned at the top. So if it has to stretch rather than fall down, of course, my face should have said, that's whoever from the thing. What? I need to reread that. Their faces start to fall off the bones, but the whole skin of them is pinned at the top, so it has to stretch rather than fall. Of course, my face should have said, what? That's whoever from the thing. Okay, but languages get all out of sorts if we don't keep pace. Also with alcohol consumption, you have to meet your claims to the intelligibility. Wait a minute, is she trying to meet? It's spelled M-E-T-E, not like meat. So I don't know. Yeah, sorry, that confused me. You have to meet your claims to the intelligibility capacity of the receiver. That's another reason to keep your pace. Some people you can't talk to at all if you're just a few beverages off of Okay, my little teddy bear, I just checked because I was like, okay, it's been a few pages, it's been 20 minutes. Then chapter 3 is actually like 10 more pages, so I'm thinking we're gonna have to cut chapter 2 into 2 parts. So don't worry, I'm gonna have the playlist for this video so you won't lose track. So I'm just gonna finish off this page and we'll end it there, okay? That's another reason to keep pace. Some people you can't talk to at all if you're just a few beverages off of them. It turned out that Jeff knew all sorts of things I didn't, but I wouldn't let that on. After all, Jeff was tall and could therefore probably hold more knowledge somewhere in the sinews. I spit out my beverage, not dramatically as people do when they're pretending to be surprised, but slovenly, like it just fell out of my mouth. I passed off the laugh as a cough. Jeff wouldn't hold it against me. He was already in. I could tell. Perhaps at some point around the same time he'd mentioned Jeff to me. You like her. But I couldn't come up with a thing. She's inoffensive? Jeff, I said. Yeah? Did he ever talk about me? Yeah, he said, as if that were that, and no excessive pause would make him expand upon his answer. Yeah, he said, as if that were that, and no excessive pause would make him expand upon his answer. Explain. Homework assignments everywhere always had to specify just because of people like Jeff. Jeff, I said, yeah? There's a spider under my kitchen sink. Could you come over and kill it for me? I'm not very good at killing spiders. I don't care about the spider. All right, said Jeff. Just so. Now, here comes the awkward part. We had established an end goal, and the initial conditions were already evident. Now we needed a linear equation to get from one state of affairs to another. There were too many in-betweens to account for. In my experience, you can't just leave these things to sort themselves out. Well, it looks like they're gonna hang out, doesn't it? The book is written in a way that is a little confusing. It's thoughts, it's sarcasm, and it's a lot of snippets of I kind of like her personality, I'm not gonna lie, but I hope that I'm reading in a way that you are understanding the story. I'm really liking it, actually. It's, like I said, a little dark, but I like it, and I hope that you are also enjoying it. Besitos, and I'll see you really soon, okay?